Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I have an awesome guest on the show tonight, and I found this young man, and through my social media search, I saw what he's doing out there in the athletic world. And I said, man, I got to get this guy on the show. But before I say his name, I'm going to try and read off his accolades, and it's just too many to read. Yeah, it's going to take a while to get all these out, but it's pretty cool. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but. He's the co-founder, and what I thought was really cool in his title, Chief Culture Officer, right? And director of baseball for a company called MASH, which we're going to get into, in a little bit. He teaches culture, self-belief, and leadership to youth organizations, college teams, professional athletes, and other corporations, which is really cool. We can dive into that. Um, He's part of of the Mind Strong podcast, which I really want to dig deep on that one. You know, he's the president of the M Foundation, which helps with sports families who are faced with unexpected hardships and financial difficulties, means this guy's a giver. But let me talk about his baseball career, which this is really cool, and I wonder if these records still stand. He's going to tell me if they do, because I'm sure he knows. But he played baseball at the University of Illinois in Chicago. He's the all-time hits leader. Now, I don't know if that's still accurate, but at the time, all-time hits leader, all-time triple hitter, the most triples. And this I thought was really cool. He's been hit by the pitch the most in the history of the team. But the best part, I think, is he was a scholar athlete of the year. And that's what I look for when I bring athletes on this show is they have their academic ability and drive as well, which is so cool. Freshman All-American, 330 career batting average. In 2010, led the league in runs scored 66, stolen bases 19, fifth in slugging percentage, seventh in on-base percentage. This guy's accolades just never end. In college baseball, Insider named him the league's best defensive player, with the best arm. The hardball Times rated him the second best defensive player in all of D1 baseball. I mean, when you think of D1 baseball, man, there is a lot of big time players out there, and this guy was named second best in the league or in the country. Welcome to the show, Steve McGuiggan.
I appreciate it. I mean, how do you go from there? I'm happy to be here. It's fun to walk down memory lane. I'm 36 now, so I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to feel a little bit older. So to reach back to that part feels pretty good. So I
Good.
appreciate that
Well,
introduction.
I'll tell you, Steve, that is one hell of a list, you know, and it's like when I saw that the most hit by the most pitches, that's a lot of hits getting
Well, you
hit.
got to be gritty. You got to get
Yeah.
ready to get hit by pitches. So that was something my dad taught me when I was really young. He
Yeah.
would take me out in the yard and teach me how to get hit by pitches. So it worked out for me.
Well, Steve, I got a ton of questions to ask you here tonight. And before I rip into those, if you do me a favor, just tell the audience, I just ripped off your whole history, but tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so one, I appreciate being on here. This is always fun for me to go through this stuff. So, Steve McGuiggan, I'm originally from Apple Valley, Minnesota. Moved to Chicago for 5 years to play baseball, and that was enough for me with Chicago. I loved it out there, but it was time to come home. I'm a Minnesota boy. Came back home and started what's called MASH. So, MASH is the Human Performance Center in Minnesota. We're now located in Savage, Minnesota. We've been at 3 different locations. We've been at Savage, Eagan, and Burnsville. We started in 2012. And we're just kind of living the American dream. We started with trying to figure out how to not get real jobs, and it transformed into something that we're really lucky to do every day and that I'm really excited I get to do every day. And when we first started, everybody said we couldn't do. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share that story. And I hope that it inspires one other person to just give it a go and try to figure out how to live the life that they want to live.
Yeah. Well, right now, for many people are listening to this audio, but this will be on YouTube as well, and to see the video. But a couple of minutes ago, I had the privilege of you showing me around your facility through the video, and I'll tell you, it is an unbelievable facility.
I
It is
appreciate it.
state of the art, man. And it's incredible how nice that place is.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't start out that way. No, this was kind of our dream. So for context, we started in 2012 in a cage and a half. We subleased a space, so we were actually leasing from the leaser of an area, and
Yep.
it went from that to now we just built our own home. So we actually own this land. We own the building. It was a huge goal of ours to just kind of be on our own and do our own thing. So to go from one cage to a 65,000 square foot facility was always our dream. And to be in here is fun. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the process. It's been a difficult process, but I appreciate you saying that because that was the vision when we sat down in a room and said, "What do we want this to be?" We're now here. It took us
Yeah.
13 years, but here we are. And now I'm doing a podcast in our strength coach's office because I still haven't decorated mine. So we're getting there.
So is there a spot, like, because people that are listening right now might be saying, well, how do I see this place? Is there a spot they can go and get a tour, a virtual tour?
Yeah, you can go to mnmash.com or probably the best spot. We're super lucky. We have a full time marketing person here. So he's incredible. His name's Red Hebig. If you follow Minnesota Mash on Instagram, he is the best there is. It's awesome. You'll see a bunch of stuff. So we have that. We have Mash Performance, and then we also have Mash Softball. So you can see those
Cool.
things there. He puts out great content, and anyone who's interested in that type of stuff, feel free to reach out anytime.
Now, where does the name MASH come from?
The truth is that when you're 23 years old and you're sitting in a room having a couple brews, you say, let's call it MASH because you just want to go up and just absolutely wanted kids who would come up and have confidence and just let it rip.
Right?
And so just like this person mashes the baseball. And about 4 years in, we kept getting the question, what does MASH mean? And we had to explain that and it just kept falling short. And one of our parents actually came up to us and said, you should make it an acronym for making athletes sustainable here. And
Oh,
we looked at each other. We were like, yeah, dead serious. We're going to do that. So now it's making athletes sustainable here. That's not how it originated, but that followed our mission and our mission
that's
statement.
awesome.
So it's a fun new thing
Yeah.
that happened about 4 or 5 years in.
Now, is he mashed that? Is that a Minnesota thing?
I don't think so. I hear it. You're going to hear it now. Anytime that you
I
watch
know. Now I'm
Sports
going to
Center or
notice it.
whatever, it's just absolutely mashed. And we'll try to catch those clips too and post it and try to take credit as if they were giving us a shout out. So you'll
Yeah.
hear it now.
That's awesome. Wow. I love the acronym. That's really great. Now, does that person get credit for that?
No, because we have to act as if we did it.
Oh man. So let me bounce around a little bit with you. I'm going to go backwards in time, and I love to get college athletes of your caliber on this show. And I hate to say the word former. You know what I mean? Because we're all former something one day, right? But you know your stats. Are those records still there?
Uh, yes, for sure the hits. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that one. I get crap about that. I say I absolutely want to keep that one.
Yeah.
I think they are, but I know the hits is.
Is there anybody close?
That I don't know. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't keep that good of a tracking
All
on
right.
it, but I think anyone who has a record like that who just says, "Oh, it's cool if they break it," I honestly think they're lying.
Yeah. Yeah. I nobody wants anybody to break your records.
No.
It's crazy. So if you go backwards in time, were you a multi-sport guy?
Yeah, I played three sports. So I graduated high school in 2007, and that was kind of in that 2007 to 2010 window. Specialization was really starting. It really in Minnesota, it hadn't started at all. So I'm really lucky that I got that opportunity. I was also in high school right before Facebook came out. So my high school experience was probably a lot like someone in the 50s. I mean, I just went out, I played three sports. I
Yeah.
didn't train, I didn't do anything except for pick up whatever I was doing at that time.
Yep.
I looked at, opportunities to play all three, but I just was a baseball guy. I felt like I had the biggest upside to play baseball, and it was my highest level opportunities. So
Right.
I grew up being a Gopher fan. I always wanted to play for the Gophers. My business partner played for the Gophers. They just never went after me. So I ended up going to the
Okay.
University of Illinois Chicago to play baseball. And I don't think kids grow up saying I want to be a UIC Flame, but it worked out great for me. It was a great opportunity, and I'm super lucky that I got to go there.
That's awesome. So can we talk about the recruiting process?
Yeah.
When you were getting
From
recruited out of high
2007.
school, what's that?
From 2007.
No, just when you were getting recruited, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, today's different. The
Yep.
whole world, I mean, these kids are getting millions of dollars to come out of high school now. But what was it, if some of the guys I interviewed, they talk about the recruiting process where some of them was like, "Hey, I got one offer and that was it was done." And other guys, it was like stressful as hell because
Mhm.
there were so many schools chasing them. They didn't know what to do. So what was your recruiting process like?
Yeah, it's a great point because we're lucky now where we have a lot of really good players. So I see that, and I see the stress that so much exposure now brings to not only the kid, but the family now at this point.
Yeah.
In 2007, at the end of the day, all the schools locally, there's really good Division 2, Division 3 baseball around here because we only
Yep.
had at the time we only had one Division 1 school, which was University of Minnesota. Now we have two with the addition of St. Thomas University. But if somebody was coming out to see you play, you just had to play well, and they had to be pretty much local. The only reason that I ended up going out to Chicago is Sean McDermott, who was the recruiting coordinator, grew up in this area. He was back for his brother's bachelor party. He was
Okay.
driving by the field, and he pulled up to the field, no recruiting stuff on, just your average, everyday, average Joe.
Yep.
And he always talks about I hit a home run, I robbed a home run, I caught a ball on the fence and threw a guy out at third. And we laughed about it when I was, a senior in college because he found out the fence was 350 in center field and he thought it was 400. So he thought I had a much better arm than I actually did. But it was pure luck. It was chance. There was no
Yeah.
prep baseball report. There was no recruiting services.
Yep.
It was just go out and play and hope somebody sees you and be
Yeah.
athletic. And that's completely different than it is now.
Oh yeah. And I hear that story so many times around, well, the scout came to watch someone else and saw me. You know what I mean? And these underrated, undernoticed players get seen just because they were there to see somebody else. And that it sparks, boom. Next thing you know, here you are.
Yeah, that's actually how my business partner Tom got recruited to play for the Gophers. Was they were recruiting the shortstop on his high school team, and he was 84 to 86, and they kept showing up, and he was winning every time that he pitched, and they ended up taking him, and he was the Friday night guy. So, surrounding yourself with successful people is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Cheering for other people's success is always a good thing because the more success is around you, the better. And I think
Yeah.
that's hard for not just young people, but everyone to understand. You have to be really confident in yourself to want other people to have success. And that's what you want to find. You want to be around
Yeah.
as many successful people as possible.
Oh yeah. And what's the saying? You become the average of the 5 or 6 people you hang around,
I think about that all the time.
right?
I think about that all the time.
So when did you know? There's got to be a point in time. I ask this question too all the time. Is when did you know in your life, let's say, that you had the skill to play at that next level? Was it third grade, fifth grade, 10th grade, or you didn't really know until somebody tapped you on the shoulder and said you might be able to do this?
Great question. I'm very open about this, and I wish more people would be. There was not a point in my life until I was released from independent baseball that I didn't think I was going to play in the major leagues. Like just not a moment in my entire life. And I'm really happy I thought that way because it was a fun ride because I looked at it as this is my journey. And anyone who's listening to this is going to be able to look at it and go, this guy wasn't even close. Well, that's the old man in the arena. Like when you're going through that process,
Yeah.
there's no doubt in your mind that you're going to make it.
Right.
And if you have doubt in your mind, you were never going to make it anyway. So literally from the time I was born, I thought that was going to happen. Um, but I found a path that I absolutely loved. Playing was always difficult because of the stresses of the individual. And the reason I love what I do now is it's all about others. It's helping others
Yeah.
achieve their goals, and it's much more rewarding. And I found that out pretty quick. I think the transition for a lot of people can be difficult. For me, it was pretty natural to get to that next spot and help people want to get to their thing. And I find it more rewarding than when I was playing.
Wow. You know, there's not that many people who are willing to admit that hey,
Yeah,
they
I
they
don't
would
know
rather
why.
see somebody else succeed than them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, to get a little bit too deep on you right out the gates, I guess. It's just the understanding that we're here for a short amount of time and that
Yes.
we're going to live and die. And when you can really grasp that, you stop worrying about all the stupid stuff and you just really try to make sure that you're making an impact and enjoying the time that you have with the people you're around. And none of us have a lot of time to waste with who we choose to have our time around. So choose wisely and
Use wisely.
support them. And you know what? I expect them to support me too. But we should actively be looking at those things all the time. And that's something that people who are close to me, it's important to me that we talk about those things all the time, whether I work with you or you're my family member or you're my friend. Let's talk about that stuff at all times and make sure we're on the
Yeah,
same page and we're caring about the things that each other care about.
right. That's huge. So how did I mean you had a great career in college, right? How did that experience develop you and prepare you for life after the game to do what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think, the University of Illinois Chicago, Mike Dean, Sean McDermott, and John Flood, like that is not a place to play. Like you're a Rutgers guy, like tough, hard nosed. Like that's probably the identity, at least that I see, being a Minnesota person at Rutgers. Like at UIC, you were expected a lot of. You were expected to show up. You were expected to work hard. We're a mid-major school. When that coaching staff took over the University of Illinois Chicago, they were the worst Division I baseball program in the entire United States of America. They
God.
were horrible. So their success blueprint was we need to go get not talented guys who are ready to get in a fight every time that they go out on the field. And they kept that identity as they got more talented players. And by the time I went there, they had been to 3 regionals. They had won multiple games in regionals. They were getting guys drafted. They had won their league. I think it was 8 years in a row by the time I had got there. So they had established a culture of gritty, tough Chicago kids that you either chose to jump on that or you were kind of going to get pushed off the team, is basically
Hmm.
what it came down to. And that might sound harsh, but that's the way it was. So you had to adapt quickly and you had to make sure that you were tough enough and you were proving that to your teammates. And that experience helped me a ton. I grew up Beaver Cleaver in Minnesota. Like I came from a family, I love my family. My mom and dad were great. I have 3 sisters. We grew up in a nice house in Apple Valley, Minnesota. I played 3 sports. I wore a Letterman's jacket to high school. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
what my life was like. And then I get dropped in the middle of Chicago. Like UIC is downtown Chicago. That's a culture shock. And
Yeah.
so that provided me with the ability to actually figure out how to be tough and how to be resilient and how
Mm.
to deal with things when they go wrong, because I didn't have a lot of those up until I was 19 years old. So I think that is by far the biggest benefit that I got, and I'm very grateful to all of them and my opportunity there that I developed those skills. I got a little bit tougher.
So let me ask you this: is you're in college, you're dropped off in the middle of Chicago, and a lot of crazy things go on in that city, right?
100%.
And you're playing baseball, you're going to school. And you're an academic star, right? Can you talk about that? That I don't think the typical traditional whoever you are out there understands the true pressure of college athletics and then having to balance the academic side. And a lot of good guys are out there doing a good job, but to reach your level of recognition academically, Like, how the hell did you do it?
To be honest, I was very lucky. They gave me a good scholarship, and my parents um, saved enough money that they paid for the rest of my school. So when I went to school, they had already established you're going to come out of school with zero student loans. So I felt a massive responsibility to my parents and to the people who had given me that scholarship to uphold the fact that they were giving me that opportunity. It wasn't my opportunity. I'm not there without the scholarship. I'm not there without my mom and dad deciding we're not going on vacations. I'm going to save this money for my kids. I mean, they had 4 kids. You know,
Yeah.
my dad was working and my mom stayed at home with the kids, and what an unbelievable experience for me and my sisters to be able to be around her as we grew up. But they saved their money for me to go to school.
Wow.
And I viewed that as my responsibility to make sure that they saw that as a good investment. And that made the decision making process pretty easy for me on taking that part serious as well.
So you were already mentally committed to academics before you even got there.
Yeah, I had to be. My parents did a good job of teaching me the value of money.
Yeah.
Not that money is the most important thing, but the value of money and the choices that they were making to
Yeah.
give me that opportunity. So it just kind of lit a fire under my ass to make sure that I was doing a good job. And it was the
Yeah.
only way that I could show them how much I appreciated that other than
Yeah.
saying it. Because talk is cheap. Like,
Yeah.
go in there and get the job done and figure it out. So
Yeah.
I was just so grateful for that. And it's one of the reasons that I was able to start a small business with no money. You know, I didn't have to make money right away because I came out of school with no debt.
Yeah.
And then they let me live at home. You know, so it was like
It's like living
they
in a hotel.
yeah, they gave me the opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just a sense of responsibility more than anything.
That's awesome. What you basically did is a lot of people say, hey, well, their parents sacrificed this or that, right? I kind of changed that word sacrifice. I don't like that word. It's too
Yeah.
negative, right? Your parents made an investment choice,
Yep.
right? And they invested in who? In you. Now you came out, hey, my responsibility is to give my parents and the school who gave me the money, the best rate of return possible on that investment,
That's
you know?
exactly right. And that's I mean, so we talk about this at MASH all the time. Like, one of our core values is making sure that kids have really good self-awareness. And I think that's almost a lost art at this point. And there's not enough truth telling and there's not enough self-awareness. So I'm happy that I had those things at an early age. I was taught those things. It was taught in our house. And to your point, like, sacrifice is such a bad word because they chose to do that. You know,
Yeah.
they were investing. I love the way that you put that because I didn't feel pressure. I felt
Yeah.
responsibility. And there's a
Yeah.
big difference between those
Yeah.
two words.
Right. But what's really cool, but with your story, and I wish it's not like you're an old man, right? And I don't know how you got Beaver Cleaver. How do you knew that? You're too young for that. But and I don't want to put this stereotype on all athletes, but you just see a lot of it is these athletes today are coming out of high school or the transfer portal of they expect more. They what are you going to do for me? What's the school going to do for me? What's the team going to do for me? What's the NIL going to do for me? Where your attitude is like, I already know what you did for me. I'm going to make sure I give it back to you.
Yeah, and I try. It's hard. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, we're lucky enough to see thousands of kids every year go through this, and you start to see the guys who are swaying a little bit more towards what school is going to give me what I need,
Yeah.
and that's not sustainable. It's fun when you're 17 and you have these
Yeah.
schools calling you and offering you these things,
Yeah.
but you can start to see those cracks in the character development of younger
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
because of these opportunities they're getting, and they're not prepared for it. They're not ready. And again, that's not blaming the kids.
No.
It's our responsibility to make sure that they understand, okay, yes, this is a great opportunity, but at some point you're going to go there and this is
Yeah.
all going to go away. And are you setting yourself up to show up on campus and be successful? Or are you just falling in love with being recruited? Are you falling in love with being told that you're great? because that's not the people we're trying to raise in here. That's not the type of people we want showing up.
Yeah.
And they're like, in our organization, we're open about your responsibility is if you're the first guy to go to school X and you trash it and you don't show up and you're inconsistent, that school's done for every single kid in the state of Minnesota,
Yeah.
at least from MASH, that wants
Right.
to go there.
Right.
So we're open about that. We're open about the way that the world actually works.
Yeah.
And I hope people start doing that more again. And it's going to come out 5, 10, 15 years later. You're not going to know about it right away, but we have to help them develop those characteristics of
Yeah.
sustainability, or they're going to come to our place. We're going to post an Instagram thing that they went to, Duke University, and then they're going to flounder out. And that's not what we're trying to do here.
No, no, no. So I got to ask you one more question about playing college baseball. Really, it's really one question with two parts. So, what's your most memorable experience in college, both on and off the field?
So I laugh about this because my first ever college game as a freshman was at Tulane, and it was the opening of their brand new stadium after Katrina.
Oh boy.
So we come out and I I'm at first base. They had I don't remember who it was, but they had a like Academy Award winning singer like do the national anthem. They had a
Okay.
legitimate flyover. Uh,
Really?
it was an entire sold out stadium. And I remember looking at his name's Grant Colstead, and he was a senior at the time, and I was a freshman. I look over at him, I'm like, wow, college baseball is going to be fun, huh? And he just started laughing his ass off. He's like, we will never play in an environment like this again. And I just remember being like, what? And like 2 weeks later, we were in Youngstown, Ohio, playing in front of 13 people and 32
Yeah.
degrees. So that is my number one memory, because it was like right out the gates,
Yeah.
the greatest baseball experience ever. Electric crowd, tons of emotion,
Yeah.
and it kind of tapered off from there.
Your expectations were high.
My expectations were high. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great memory to say, God, I literally for 30 minutes I thought that was the world that I had just entered, and that every game was going to be that way. So I still remember that. And I hate to give the most typical answer ever, but my off the field stuff is I loved my teammates. I have really great relationships with my teammates still. And I think my best off the field memory would be when we got a little bit older, we got this apartment in right on campus, and it's still the baseball house.
Okay.
So we started a little tradition off the field. That's a really good feeling for me. Like, just to know that that house became a gathering place for the team
Yeah.
year after year after year after year. And I had a lot of good memories in that house. And to think that the vibes of that house were so good that it's still the baseball house, that's my best off field memory.
Now, have you gotten back there since or no?
I haven't. My girlfriend keeps telling me, "Are we ever going to go out there?" And we just haven't. Terrible excuse, but doing this whole thing has
Yeah.
kind of overtaken the
Yeah.
casual trips, and I got to get back to that. I got to
Yeah.
make sure that we make that a priority.
Do they have an alumni game?
They did. I went back for an alumni game. They haven't had one for a while, but the coach right now is doing a great job. He does Zoom calls. He gets all the
Yep.
alumni on. He talks about, here's what we're doing. He'll
Cool.
he'll get on 3-4 times a year, and I appreciate that because it lets me hang out with my teammates, even if it's over Zoom.
Yeah. It's just like being in the same room with them.
Well, you don't think about that when you're committing, right? You don't think probably most of these guys are going to live in the Chicago area,
Yeah.
and you just don't know your college teammates. Like, my future wife doesn't know any of my best friends from college, and unfortunately, the first time that she met my two best friends from school was when my dad died this year,
Mm.
and they flew out and just surprised me, and were just at his funeral. And that's how
Yeah.
she met two of my best friends. But I'm sitting there going, I don't even know how to introduce you right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of playing sports and doing these things is
Yeah.
those connections haven't been lost at all,
Yeah.
even though I see those guys once every 3 years. That's just
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. It's amazing. And to that point, yeah, hey, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. That's, it's tough,
I
and
appreciate that. He's my best friend. So I
yeah.
miss him.
Yeah, it's tough. Ugh. Um, but to your point on your buddies, this Saturday I'm doing another show, right? And I don't think I told you this, but I reconnected with three guys I played with. And again, I'm going way back now, from 1983 to 1987.
That's awesome.
One guy was a year ahead of me, and the other two guys came in with me as a freshman. And we're going to do a joint show Saturday, all four of us.
That's so good.
And Steve, I haven't talked to these guys in 40 years.
Oh my God. That's
Almost.
going to be electric.
We had our own little Zoom chat already just to kind of talk about what's going on, what we're going to do. And it was I was an emotional roller coaster during the chat. Like the things we talked about, the things we're gonna talk about, it was like yesterday.
I love that. That's how you know, right? You picked it
Yeah,
up and it was
yeah.
nothing. You had all the jokes ready to go.
Right. Right. And there was no like, where the hell you been for 40 years? How come I want you, right? And it was just a phenomenal, beautiful reconnection. And so I can't wait for Saturday. I'm like counting the days.
Do you think that all the personalities are going to be basically the same? Like, do you think the group
Oh,
dynamic will be the
it was
same?
exactly the same when we were on the Zoom call 2 weeks ago planning it out. They're all ripping each other. It's like nothing changed. Nothing. There was like no time went by. We look a little different. We look a little older, but it was still the personalities were exactly the same. It's incredible.
You keep calling yourself old. I think you look great.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm old enough to be your father. you know, so I still feel like I'm 25. I hit the gym like I'm 25, but the calendar doesn't agree with me.
No, that's good. I mean, that's actually one of the reasons that I love doing this job. I actually truly believe that I stay feeling young because I'm around
Oh
young
yeah,
people.
without a doubt.
And they change the dynamic and they bring so much energy and they have so
Yeah,
much wonder and they
yeah,
have fear and they just ride so many emotions that
yeah,
are great to see.
yeah,
And that's great for me to be around. And I get excited to be around it because
yeah.
they're not set in their ways.
Right.
They're
Yeah,
anything but set in their ways.
right.
And that helps me continue to not be set in my ways. So
Yeah. Well,
that's how I feel too.
when they bring the energy, it forces you to bring the energy.
Yeah,
You know.
when I first started coaching, I was a energy rocket. I'm a little bit more of a, storyteller now, I'll be honest. I've adjusted my coaching style a little bit, but I want to become the storytelling coach now instead of the guy leading every single practice. So that's the maturation of coaching.
Cool. Cool. One more question on the past, and then we'll move to the present. And this one's really not about you, but advice. What kind of advice can you give to the high school kid today who is aspiring to be that college baseball player? Do they need to be ready for and prepared for?
I would say the biggest mistake that they can make is thinking about playing in college. You have to be where your feet are. You have to be present. The people that I see want something in the future, but they show up every single day and they love their teammates and they love practice and they're just so focused on becoming the best version of themselves. Those kids always go further. They play longer, they show up to college and they're more impactful. If you're always projecting, you're never going to reach your full potential.
Mm,
And we try to make sure that we talk about that. And a lot of the things that I'll say, just in general, are generic, I guess. But to be mindful and talk about these things daily and talk about, yes, we want to have these goals, but today, you know what? We're going to be focused on being great for our teammates. We're going to focus on going to this tournament in Georgia and enjoying the fact that we're going to go out to eat with each other after you went 0 for 3 in front of the school that you really wanted to go to. You have to be intentful about that.
mm,
And when when those things start happening, even as a coach, it's easy to get caught up in, well, we went to this tournament to make sure that these kids get recruited. No, you
Yeah.
went to this tournament to make sure that these kids had an experience,
Yeah.
that they're gaining the ability to be sustainable when they go to college. And so I'm just really passionate about reminding guys to not project and to enjoy what they're doing in that moment.
Wow. It's got to be so hard for them. As a young kid, they're immature, they don't understand, they can't make those kind of decisions mentally, right?
Well, not only that, but it's scary. It's scary to think, and the comparison culture is really difficult.
Oh my
Most
God, yeah.
you don't all commit to a school at the same exact time. We have kids who have committed to a Division III school in the back half of their junior year, and big power Division I schools a week before the end of their senior year.
Yeah.
So they don't. Why would they believe that that's the case unless somebody with experience is explaining to them that everyone's journey is different?
Yeah.
And even if you go play Division III baseball, that doesn't mean that you can't be a big leaguer. We always talk about fit. We always talk about where you're at in the process, where you're trying to get to. And that is difficult. And if you're not willing to have those conversations with the kid, I don't think you should be in this industry. I don't think you should be teaching in youth sports. I think you should go coach in college, or you should go
Yeah.
coach professionally, because our job in youth sports is to make sure that those guys are set up for success at their next stop. That's our job.
And the next stop could be who knows where.
Who knows where? And it might not be.
Yeah.
I got a message from Duke Bench, who was a kid that played on our second team for basically his entire life. He goes and he finds a way into Air Force Academy,
Wow.
and he ends up being a pitcher on the Air Force Academy. And he sent me a text message the other day just updating me on his life. And I look at that kid and I go, okay, this was the objective. This is what I was trying to do, is take a kid who was an underdog his whole life, was told you're not good enough to do these things. And not only does he do these things, but he goes to the Air Force Academy and he finds a way onto the baseball team. And this kid, Duke, was an 85 to 88 mile an hour pitcher, and they used him
Right.
as a closer. He found a way so his mental makeup was so strong that
Yeah.
he was able to achieve. And now his baseball career is over, and we're still communicating with each other
Yeah.
back and forth. If we're doing that, that means the objective was reached.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud of him. I mean, he's defending our country now at this point. I mean, it's wild to think about, but
Yeah.
they do grow up fast. They
Yeah.
become adults very fast. So
He's got a really cool name too.
he's got one of the best names, Duke
Yeah.
Ben. I mean, that is as good as it gets.
Oh my God, that's a good one. So, okay, let's get to today, but let's go backwards in time on today. MASH. What was the inspiration for you? You co-founded it with your buddy. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so when I got done playing, I was arrogant kid. I was still finding myself. I thought that I would for sure get drafted, and I didn't. And after I didn't get drafted, I got calls from independent league baseball teams, and I thought I was too good for that. So what I ended up doing, because I was such a talent and so good, was I moved into my buddy Matt Cerna's parents' basement, and I took a $25,000 a year coaching job at a private baseball training facility, and I was just lost, right? I mean, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
The thing, like I said earlier, like I just envisioned that this was always going to happen, and something was out of my control. I don't get to draft myself. So that was a difficult feeling for me, and I didn't handle it well. So I worked there for about 8 or 9 months, and I actually got calls again the following year to go play independent professional baseball. And I had an itch, and I was like, I have to go scratch this itch. So it's not like I was leaving anything behind. I mean, I was
Yeah.
making squat in my buddy's
Couple
parents'
of bucks.
basement, like I
Yeah.
couldn't live there forever. So I went out and I got a call from Tom Buski, who is really the founder of MASH. We call each other co-founders, but he had started this thing before I was involved in it.
Okay.
And my cousin got a call from him about playing for this kind of all-star team. And so I called up Tom because I went to high school with him, and I just said, "Hey, man, what is this thing?" As I'm driving out to go play indie baseball. And so he explains to me what he wants to do. He explains to me that he's got a bunch of people he hits and pitches with, and he quit his job as a personal trainer to start this baseball club. And I jokingly said, I haven't played baseball in a year, and I'm going to go try to play pro ball. So maybe I'll call you in a couple of weeks for a job. And I went out and sold the Illinois Miners and went 0 for 14, and I got released and drove back from Kentucky. And I called him on the ride home, and I said, "Hey, I know I was kidding before, but I want to hear what you have to say." And we sat down at a Caribou Coffee, and he kind of pitched me on what was going on. And I still remember driving home and going to my parents, and being older now, the context of it makes me laugh. It's like I've been living in my buddy's parents' basement for a year. I come
Yeah.
home, now I'm living at home, and I go to my mom and dad and say, "Hey, great news. Tom wants me to start this baseball business with him. It's going to go great." And my parents, being protectors, had about a million questions, and
Yeah.
they should have. And I appreciate that they did. And they grilled me about why I would do it. Do I understand what this could mean? Do I have a plan for how I'm going to grow this? And ultimately, it was just something that I wanted to do. And after they challenged me a million times on it and I decided to do it, they flipped and supported me 100%. I got to live at home throughout the process of starting the business.
Yeah.
I still remember going in and doing training and coming home, and they left dinner in the oven for me, and I would sit down, and at 10:30 at night I would eat dinner with my mom and dad as a 25-year-old, trying to figure out how to start a baseball company.
Yeah.
And when you talk about memories, those in my lifetime, I'm trying not to get emotional, but I might every time I talk about that.
Sure.
Those will be some of the best memories of my entire life. And I didn't realize it at the time, but like I said, my dad, best friend, my mom,
Yeah.
so support. I have the best parental units. And to grow a business after your biggest like life failure of not making it to the big leagues,
Yeah.
and having them know all the challenges that I was about to face, and still sitting there at 10:30 at night and eating dinner with me and watching King of Queens, those memories can never go away.
No.
And it's one of the reasons that I'm so motivated to continue to drive this thing forward, because I have those moments, and it's not just the grind moments. I had the moments with people that truly supported me and truly said, "We'll do whatever we need to do to make this dream of yours a reality." And it comes back to the responsibility thing for them.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets that opportunity, and I got that opportunity, and not just in business but in life.
Yeah.
And I am super grateful that I got to experience that, especially with what's happened over the course of the last year.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, your parents were there twice, first college, making that investment, right? And you said, "Hey, I'm not going to screw this up." Right. And then whenever the baseball god said you were done, which is painful, you sit down with mom and dad, and like you said, protective is definitely the word,
Yep.
and they believed in you again and said, "Let's do it." And I always say, without parental support like that, things that you're accomplishing, either they don't happen or they're ridiculously harder.
Yeah, you can't, especially if you grew up in a close family.
Yeah.
I live within 10 minutes of all three of my sisters in adulthood. I'm
Okay.
the godfather for two of my sisters' kids.
Cool.
We see each other all the time. That unit was close. So if I didn't have their support, I
Yeah.
don't think that we're on a podcast together right now. I don't know what I'd be doing, but it was their ability to challenge and protect, but then also flip it and say, if this is something that you really want to do, let's go
Yeah.
get it. Like, how can we help? What do we need to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really difficult thing to do, especially when
Yeah.
you don't know what the result is going to be. And that's got to be an unbelievable difficult thing to do as a parent.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully soon I am one. and I look
Yeah,
forward to being one. And I hope I can take those lessons and achieve it, because I can only imagine how difficult that is to do for any parent.
sure. Well, you know what? You know what, Steve? What you've learned from your parents. And what I always say as a kid, you either learn to what to do or what not to do,
Yeah,
right? And sometimes the kids do what they're not supposed to do when you know what I mean? But I guarantee you're going to be the exact same parent your parents were, if not better, because we always want to be a better parent than we had to the kids that we have.
I appreciate it. I hope so. If I'm as good of a parent as my mom and dad, I'll take it right now. Give it
Yeah,
to me.
that's cool. Well, it's coming. It'll be here before you know it.
I hope
So,
so. I mean, I'm ready. I need a couple kiddos. Tom, as we were starting this, his son and his daughter were up here, and
yeah,
when you start, and we were all 23, 24 years old,
yeah,
it's really cool now, because a lot of people who work here have been here 10 plus years.
yeah.
So now you're starting to see kids running around
Oh yeah.
here.
Oh yeah.
I always look at Clemson football and what Dabo's doing over there, like with family days and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's kind of the era that we're coming into. So it should be a
Yeah.
fun era.
Yep. I have the director of player development from Clemson coming on.
Well, I'll be listening. I want to hear
Yeah.
about it. I love what they do.
Yeah.
I model a lot of stuff, at least from what I watch, from what they do, and
Yeah.
family, and focusing on those things, and understanding that people who work here are real people.
Yeah.
They're not just employees, they're people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
Of
need to make
course.
sure that their family feels connected to what
Yeah.
they're doing eight,
Yeah.
9 hours out of the day.
Yeah. You know what the next room, the next part of your facility is going to be is a playground, for the
Well, we got a
babysitters.
playground on there in phase 2. We got a
Okay.
playground on there. I don't want to lose it. I hope we can lose it. We got to find a way to pay for it, but I hope we can have it.
All right. Cool. So you're one of your titles, Chief Culture Officer. Man, that I love that. Can you talk about that and drive that deep? Because I think sports business, if the culture is right, success comes with it.
Yep. Yep. So I'm lucky to have that job. When we first started, it's actually easy to start a business. And I'd be willing to talk to anybody about that, because when you got two people, everything's easy. Hey, what do you think
Yeah.
about this? Yep, let's do it. What do you think about that? Yep, let's do it. But now we're to the point where we have 18 full-time coaches that work here. We have two different physical locations, and we have about 120 seasonal employees that will be employed in the business, which is crazy to say out loud, because
A
this
lot.
was this is a lot of people. There's a lot of people involved in this. And between myself and Tom and our strength coach Nate, who I'm doing this office in, that was really easy, and it was really fun. And I call it almost authentic, because you're figuring out those guidelines as you go. But the more people you add, the more difficult it is to stay to the original mission. So before I got on here, I'm still coaching. I make sure I coach just so I can still feel that energy and I can be close to the product. But at a certain point, you have to realize my number one focus is to make sure our original objective is being upheld. If we have 120 people and we're not getting contact points with them on the expectation of what somebody who in the state of Minnesota comes to MASH is expecting, it's going to go downhill.
Right.
So I had to transition from doing what I loved, which was coaching 7 hours a day, to coaching the coaches. And that transition from coaching the coaches to realizing, like we talked about earlier, these are people with dreams and aspirations, and every single
Yeah.
one is different. And as a small business owner, you can get tunnel vision saying, this is where I want to go. This is where we want to go as an organization. Well, maybe person X doesn't value money. Maybe they value being home at 6. Maybe they value going off out of the cages and going out in the community and being a part of something different. So it gave me an opportunity to have all these checkpoints with our people and make sure that they're getting into roles, or that we're shifting them into roles that fit the lifestyle that they want. And I think that that is ultimately what makes this place really special, because then when they're doing the thing that they're doing, they've advocated to do that.
Yeah.
We only have guys, you got to do things at your job you don't want to do. But
Yeah.
we want to minimize that as much as possible because this is a people industry. You got to
Right.
be on, you got to be present. And it doesn't matter if you coach 7 hours, that kid's in there for 1, maybe 2 hours. And that's his entire experience. You don't get to take that hour off.
Yeah.
So we better make sure that we're setting you up for success in that with your schedule and with your pay and with what you value in life. So
Yeah.
I have a very close connection with our staff because that's my role to have those conversations.
And I would imagine somewhere along the line, with that many people, is sometimes you're going to have some difficult ones.
Yeah, we do. And those are always tough. But if you've put the work in on both sides leading up to that, there shouldn't be any surprises.
Yeah.
And difficult conversations are going to happen. My red flags is when I have surprise, difficult conversations. That means that I missed something. That means that my relationship with this person, I wasn't seeing the signs that they were unhappy or that they needed a job shift or that they needed more transparency or whatever it is. So it's not that I don't want to have the difficult conversations. I want to have those. I don't want to have the surprises. And it's
Yeah.
my job to make sure that I'm not sitting in a room with my pants down, surprised at what somebody's coming into the room with.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever read the book Traction?
You know, so Kelsey works at a small, my significant other works at a small business that has absolutely skyrocketed. It's called
Yeah.
Unreal Clothing Company. They're all over the state of Minnesota. They use Traction, and I'm just way too ADD to use it. So she gave me the principles of it. And
Okay.
then I kind of took those principles and just kind of mashified those
Yeah.
things for
Because
baseball.
everything you're saying is from the book.
Is
You
it
know,
really?
I'm telling you, you got to read it. You might have ADD of implementing and executing it, but I would definitely read it because it's all about my takeaway. It's all about the right people in the right seat for the
Yep.
right reasons. And
Yep.
if you think, hey, Joe or Mary, oh, they'd be good at this, like you said before, and they don't want to do it, and
Yep.
you put them in there anyway, you're not going to get the result you want. But if you put them in a role where they're excited about and they can't they're so excited they come in early like whoa you're early and they stay late and you don't ask that you're going to get the results that you want and the whole premise on the book is making sure when you're hiring somebody that you're putting them in the right seat for the right reasons at the right time.
Yeah, and there's nothing more important than that. And then from there, it's realizing that those things will change.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Their life will change, their
Yep.
goals will change, the
Yep.
business will change, the
Yep.
culture will change. So are you keeping up with them throughout all of those changes
Yeah.
and making sure that you're adjusting the role as needed in real time?
Yep. So speaking of change, you know, when you started this in 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had a vision then. How has the vision grown? How has the vision changed? How did the mission start? And is the mission changing and evolving?
It's always evolving. I'll start with that. Like, there's no way you can say it's the same. I think one of the tough comments for me that can sometimes come off wrong or brash or harsh is people say, come into the facility and go, could you ever imagine that this would be what you guys had? And the answer is yes. This is what we envisioned. This is what
Yeah.
we wanted to do. And getting into that position, I'm grateful for, but we're still in that part of the journey. We still haven't gotten the fields that we want to be able to go out and practice in. I think the biggest difference of the evolution of it was that I was 100% sure every single full time person that worked here would work here their whole life. That's how I think. I just thought, how could you ever find a better fit for you? And I didn't realize that, you know what? Sometimes people have a wife who's a teacher and they can't work anymore from 3 to 10 p.m. when kids are off of school.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that one of our coaches would get so into breathing work that he would become the mental skills performance coach for the San Francisco Giants. And you start like going through these experiences and you start
Yeah.
realizing people leaving from your organization is not a bad thing. Like
No.
people leaving from your organization can be an incredible thing, that they cultivated this passion for
Yeah.
something that they found in this building. There's
Yeah.
still a secret sauce to that. There's
Yeah.
still something that happened inside of these walls that led them to find their passion.
Yeah.
And I think realizing that that's a good thing has been my personal biggest adjustment throughout the business. I
Yeah.
hope people come here and work their whole lives here and that we make the shifts that they need and that they find that passion. But if we can lead you to something else that you become incredibly passionate about and get an opportunity, that also is a win. And
Yeah.
that was a lesson that was hard for me to understand when we first started.
I mean, you think about it, is what they learn from you while they're with you either help them or inspire them to go on to bigger and better things in their own mind and world. Well, that means you had something to do with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's tough because when you do start, as the ride off into the sunset person, I hope we still have an opportunity to do that with people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of the people who work here have worked here 6 plus, anywhere between 6 and 13 years, the majority
Wow.
of the staff. So the majority of the staff comes in and works here for a long time because of those progressions. But it's like Nick Saban. Nick Saban's not a bad guy just because everybody's going out and being a head coach. And
Yeah. Right.
that's hard to learn though, if you actually care about other people, because
Right.
your first instinct is to blame yourself that you didn't provide them enough. It's not about you, Steve. It's
Yeah.
not about you. It's about
Yeah.
them and they're
Yeah.
finding their thing. And learning that process was super important for me
Yeah.
and something that I guess I just didn't expect to go through as a small business owner.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm glad I am, because that means we're growing and that means we're working with people who are motivated to find their passion in life.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say small business owner anymore. You got a 65,000 square foot facility.
I know it feels good though to say small business. I still feel like that. So it's like saying, we're young,
Not
you
with
got to
not with
say
a
that.
not with 120 plus employees. You're not small anymore.
We're
You
just a
know?
business. Just a mash as a business now, I guess.
Yeah. You're a big business now.
I'll go
You
with
know?
community, a large community.
There you go. So you mentioned before a lot about self-belief. Can you talk about that? How do you instill that one in the maybe the kids that you're coaching and developing? And two, how about your employees? Like it's almost a segue, to get them to have self-belief too in themselves and their role, their responsibility, and really their idea of, well, I'm here to make the company better. I'm here to make the customers better. I'm here to make everything better.
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, it comes back to everything we do here is relationship based. If
Mm,
you were to walk into this building and go watch a hitting class, you would not leave here and go, huh, that was some new age stuff right there. Wow, that was unbelievable. If you walked back into the cage, you would go, I wonder what they're working on. It's conversation based, it's challenge based, it's what did you feel there? One of the number one things that we talk about with any of our coaches is, if you ask your kid what they're working on and they can't directly answer to you, you're a bad coach. You're an instructor. As a coach, you need to make them their very best individual. They need to be able to go out. You're not going to be with them when they go over to Lakeville North High School. You're not going to be
mm,
with them when they're at Anoka. You're not going to be with them. They're the only consistent person they're going to have through their entire journey. So our job is to make sure that they're confident and that they're self-aware and that they're learning the skill of learning a skill, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And when it comes to coaches, it's the same exact thing. It's asking them questions. It's allowing for them to have their opinions. The hard part with that, when you have that type of culture, is when a coach says, "Hey, I'd really like to do this," and it doesn't fit into the model. That's the rub, right? That's the
Yeah.
moment that you got to make sure that you're able to sit in a room and go, "Hey, I would love to be able to do this, but money doesn't grow on trees, and we have to
Yeah.
figure out a way to get you there. It might not be tomorrow, but we're going to have to do X, Y, Z to get you there." So it's
Yeah.
always having the opportunity to come in and project I think we should do development this way. I think that we should do times this way. And we have to be ready to give an answer saying either let's do it right now or there's no freaking way we can do that. How do you think we can do that? Because
Yeah.
everything here has been made up. I tell every staff member that comes in here, every single thing, the way we run classes, the prices, the way we did the building, the coaches, the logo, it's legitimately all made up. So we should never stop making things up. And if you're
Mm.
in a room where you're always ready to make things up, there's a lot of belief, right? What could be next? What could we do? Why can't we work with this team? Why can't we have pro guys in here? Why can't we build this facility? Why can't we start a school? There's any sort of thing in here, and I think that's where belief comes from, is having the wonder of a kid and what's next and the ability to keep growing. And I think that's what we do really well as a full unit, as a collective unit. And I think that's why people work here for a long time.
You know, I mean, I'm just writing stuff down here, and you just ripped off a couple of things, and you know, why can't we have this? Why can't we do this mentality? Like why not?
Why
You
not?
know, and which is so cool. And you just hit me with something about your coaches, where the kids should be able to go to the parents, say, "This is what we learned today. This is what I did today. This is what I worked on today." Right? And my son's a senior in college, and literally this afternoon he called me. After his classes, and here's what I say: like, "What'd you learn today? What'd you pick up today? What was the, what, It's so funny you say that. And he goes, "I don't know, Dad. It was kind of a boring class." And I'm thinking, all right, you just told me, which is really, it's so spot on. Like, that's teacher's job, professor's job, is to make the students walk out of there and say, "This is what we learned today. This
Mm-hmm.
is what we worked on today." Not to have somebody say, "I don't know, it was just kind of boring. It was just nothing really stood out."
It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And that is on, and again, kids are blamed for everything. And I beat this drum all the time. That, in my opinion, 1%, your son has to take a little responsibility in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he was inspired 0% by
Right.
whoever was giving that lecture. And they went through and they read the template and they said, well, I gave you the
Yeah.
information.
Check
What
the
do you,
box.
yep. What happened to inspiring people? Why did you get into this profession? Why are you a teacher? What was
Yeah.
the original point that you got in? And I think that people just lose that along the way because they don't have a group. And when you grow up an athlete and you start a job and you have 18 other people who are full time and you have another 120 people who want to be that, you're on a team. I still feel like I'm on a college team.
Oh
So I'm
yeah.
pushed. So I feel a responsibility to outcoach the guy next to me. Now we're on a team, but I have to uphold that standard for them. And that is our responsibility back to each other and to the kid. So
Mm.
it's frustrating for me when somebody goes through that and they just are checking a box. We went to school, we did our homework. There's no homework assignments here. I'll say that when we have meetings. If this feels like homework, you need to come tell me, and shame on you if you don't, because I don't know what I don't know. I'm telling you that this is not homework. If you feel like it is, come see me in my office afterwards. But that way, at least we're on a level playing field in what we're trying to accomplish and move forward on. And we lose that as a society. It's just, I do this. It,
Yeah.
that that class, he has to go there, and that teacher is going to have to continue to go back to that class. They're going to spend a majority of their life in that class. And it just drives me nuts that they're not
Yeah.
finding ways to make it enjoyable. They're just
Yeah.
checking a box. What a
Yeah.
waste of time.
I know. And it's a money grab.
Well, yeah, yeah. That's another thing. Like, we always talk in here. Like, we work on commission. Like, sure, we can project what we're gonna do, but if you're paying for your son or daughter to come in and have an experience, and you don't
Yeah.
have one, you ain't coming back.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
simple as that. And
Yeah.
so you better be ready to go, or all the stuff that we have now can go away in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Realizing that is fun. It feels like
You know,
you're competing.
it's like you heard the terminology reputation, right? It sounds like you guys have built a phenomenal reputation out there, but it just takes one bad experience from somebody to go wreck it in a day.
No doubt. And when you do go from being a community and a culture, and that's what you're known for, and you have, it's easy to cheer for the mom and pop place.
Yeah.
It's really easy to cheer for mom and pop. Everybody wants that person to win.
Yep.
But no matter what, no matter how good we do, the second we built this building, the narrative shifted to, well, they're just trying to make as much money as they
Yeah.
can. Well, the coaches aren't really engaged anymore. And there's no way that the 120th person in here can have the same connection as me. I'm not dumb. I understand
Right.
that that's the thing. But it's
Right.
our job to make them understand that we're not going to allow that narrative to be a thing. And I think we've done an unbelievable job of that in the first year. And that scared a lot of people. And we built this to give them better opportunities, to give our staff better opportunities. And now that we've been in here a year and we realize we're not going to get kicked out, there's a lot of juice involved in
Yeah.
that and a lot of energy in saying we had no idea what we were doing in this building the first year. Now
Yeah.
we got a plan. Now we're not just showing up going, I don't know, see how today
Yeah.
works. There's a plan again. So
Yeah.
in the old spots, it was a plan to get into here and everyone was cheering for us. We get into the new big shiny building. At least the same guys. Go prove you're the same guys. Now
Yeah.
let's be better than the old guys. That's the part of the journey we're in, and I'm excited for that part.
That's great. Well, that leads me to my next question. A couple more questions is, well, vision. You had a vision 12 years or 12 years ago, right? What's the vision now? Like, what's it looking like down the road? Do you have five other facilities? Are you nationwide? Like, what's going on?
A great question. As of now, I I don't want to do that. I don't
Okay.
want to branch out to 20 different spots. I think we could. I think we could really easily. I think that the systems that we've created for training and the affordability of small group training is very copy paste, but the culture part is not. And there is a true emotional connection to the community of MASH for the people who have built this from nothing. And that's scary. So I think more so it's starting our remote training programs, being able to disperse that through the platforms of the internet to give people that training, to give people that connection, adding products, doing things that we can control that are a part of our organization instead of saying, all right, yeah, that's enough. Let's branch out and let hundreds of people become MASH. We
Right.
want to find ways to keep MASH and grow internally. It's 2025. We can sell development baseballs. We can sell bands. We can go out and we can build our field. We can run tournaments. We're a little selfish in that way that we want to make sure that the product stays the way the product is supposed to be.
You want it to stay pure.
Yeah, I want it to stay pure. And we
Yeah.
do. I shouldn't say I, because it's not a
Yeah.
me thing. We all do.
Right.
I for sure do. And
Yep.
everybody does. It's the reason at this point that we've operated the way we have.
Yeah.
But we still have enough juice because we haven't gotten that phase two. We haven't had the fields yet. Like we sit out here and I mow the lawn out front. And when I mow, it's mowed into the fields. You can see the fields. Like you can tell where the fields are going to be out front.
Yep.
That's very motivating. So that project in itself, that on taking,
I hope you got a riding mower.
I do have a riding mower. I do have a riding mower. It's actually my most fun part because I put my headphones in. I don't have to
Yeah.
answer any questions for like 2.5 hours. It's great. So the riding mower has become a bit in here, but it's like my favorite part of the summer. I'm looking forward to the grass being out there again.
You got the
So
company logo on it?
not yet, but we got to work on it. We
Okay.
got this. It's actually green. It drives me nuts, but our marketing guy's been drilling me about it. So we got to make sure we get it. We got a license plate ordered, so we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah. You mentioned Nick Saban before, and Nick Saban is all about standards, right? These are the standards. If you could, I would imagine you probably have a laundry list, but what do you think are the top standards of MASH, the company, the foundation, the vibe? if you were if somebody walked in and said, "What are the standards around here?"
Yeah, so great question. So our mission statement is raising the standard in human performance through athletics, fitness, culture, community. So that's, and we took a lot of time on that. Our staff together got that, and we have had a couple different mission statements. Our original mission statement ended up being making athletes sustainable here. Then we got together and it was inspiring a community of growth, and that evolved. So like the business mission statement has evolved based on our changing and what we're doing. So the number one thing there is, and the thing I'm most proud of, is when somebody walks in to the building, they should feel a genuine energy immediately,
Hmm.
like a different vibe immediately. I always talk about, if you go into a restaurant and you walk into a restaurant, the way you're greeted, the way that there's no music, the
Right.
way that the place smells, the
Yeah.
way that you are greeted, those are the number one things that we have to do a great job of, because they're, no matter what, controllable. That there's no emotion involved in making sure that there's good music in the lobby. There's no emotion
Yeah.
involved in making sure that the bodies are moving properly. There's
Yeah.
nothing involved with making sure that the facility is clean. We
Yeah.
talk about broken window theory here, especially over the course of the last year, which is basically just saying, a window breaks. Now all of a sudden somebody feels free to leave a piece of trash. They leave a piece of trash. Now all of a sudden somebody feels free to leave the baseballs out. We've
Yeah.
really adopted that, and I think that has shaped the fact that we try to not miss any details, and that we try to make sure that, one, the place is presentable. You spend this much, there's a literal part to it about spending money on a place and saying, hey, we should probably keep this nice. We should probably
Yeah.
appreciate that fact. But the second thing is the daily habits that we built up to make sure that that happens as a group. I think that that's one. Just, you can feel an energy and you can see a genuine care and gratefulness for the fact that we're in here. I think the second one is transparency. We're really transparent. Somebody calls us up, they have an issue, we're happy to talk about it, and we're also happy to admit when we were wrong. And how do we make that thing right? Two, telling the players, I know you want to go here, but you're not talented enough to go there. Here's
Oof,
where
that's
you
got to be
should
so
go.
hard.
Those are really difficult, but it comes back to the thing we talked about earlier, where just because you can't go to Vanderbilt now doesn't mean you can't play for the Twins later. And I believe that. We believe in those types of statements. It's just different checkpoints in your journey.
Yeah.
So making sure guys see that path and understand that path is really important. And I think the last thing is being genuinely nice to other people. It's something that is throws me off. I mean, I think about it all the time when I go out. I think one of the best compliments I can get is if I go to a random place and I'm getting food and they ask me if I'm in customer service. Like that's a pretty nice compliment. That's
Yeah.
how people should feel like when they come in here, that they're the most
Yeah.
important person in the world.
Yeah.
And that's where we adopted the cheers mindset.
Mm.
We want the norm vibe when you walk in here. And if you have 2,000 kids, people say, well, that's impossible. Well, it's not, because if Coach X has these 20 kids, he can change those 20 kids' lives. Nobody's coaching 2,000 kids. It's our responsibility to make sure that whether you're the worst player that's here or you're the best player that's here, you feel like you belong here and that you're welcome here and that you're special here. And I'm proud that we've done that. We have people who their goal is to make the C team, and we have people who are saying, I'm trying to crack the big leagues. And they're all
Yeah.
in the same building. And that's what makes it special. If it loses that, it loses all the other things too.
That's one hell of a standard to, across, I mean, everything you just listed out. I mean, as the chief culture officer, right? I mean, you live it, you breathe it, you ooze it. It oozes out of you. And I could tell that when I spoke to you on the phone, a while back. Your delivery of who you are and what your company does and what your team does for people That's why people say, "Hey, are you in customer service? Like, what do you do?" Your energy level is it just it attracts people.
Well, I'm very proud of the people here. Like Tom, Nate, Andy, Rhett, Austin. Like I can keep going. Like nobody grill me that works here if you're listening to this, but the people here, I'm really proud to tell our story because the people here deserve it, and they've done amazing things for thousands and thousands of people. And so when I get a chance to talk about it, like you've given me, I take that seriously as a responsibility to make sure people know that in Savage, Minnesota, there's a group of people who really care about what they're doing and they're trying to do something different and unique. And if I get an opportunity to brag about those people, I'm excited to do it. And I
Yeah.
appreciate being able to do it.
Yeah, that is cool. And you know, the environment, I can't, like I said, I gotta get out there for a visit. I can feel the environment already just from talking to you that it's got to be so cool in there, you know?
It's fun. Like right now I'm looking out, and the other part of it too is there's a pitching class going on the backside of the field house with 8-year-olds. There's a softball class with 16-year-olds going on over here with catching.
Yeah.
And then there's a full like 14 to 17-year-old baseball fielding class. And they're
Steve,
all in
do
there.
do me a quick favor. Just point the camera for those that will be watching this
Yeah.
on YouTube. Let them see that facility. Like, look at that place.
So
That
yeah, so that's
that
our
is,
that's our field house. So we're up top.
yeah, that is
We're up.
first class, man. That's a first class
Thank,
facility.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's fun
There-
because like even sitting in this office, the last place we were at, which was a year ago, we had one office for 18 people. One. And now I'm sitting in our strength coach's office that overlooks a field house. Like it is very much a pinch pinch me type
Yeah.
atmosphere for us. Sometimes we
Yeah.
laugh. Like I showed you this earlier, but he has all three of our facilities up on here, and it's one of my favorite things that anyone has done here because you can even tell when we hired a marketing professional because the first picture is like 100% pixelated and like off somebody's cell phone from
Yeah.
2012, and the last one is like a drone shot.
Yeah.
You can
It's
literally see the progression
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's awesome. But Steve, man, we've been talking for a while. I know you got to run, you got to get home. Um, is there anything else I haven't talked about, brought up that you think we should hit on before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, one, I just appreciate the opportunity to be on here. It's super reflective to talk about these things, and for you to give me an opportunity to do that, I really appreciate that. And I just think for anyone who is looking to start something, whatever that is, uh, take a moment, but only a moment. So take a moment to think if you want to do this thing. But after that moment's gone, if you decide to do it, it's all in and it's full go from there. And you can't beat what you can't kill. So just keep going, push through those things. If you understand why you started, you can achieve what you want. And if people can just stick to things a little bit longer through the gritty stuff, anybody on earth can achieve pretty much amazing things. So
Yeah.
I hope that that helps one person just give whatever they've been waiting to do a go.
Is that quote hanging on the wall? Take a moment, but only a moment.
It's not, but it could be.
It
Maybe
should
it will be.
be.
Maybe
I'm gonna I'm gonna hang it on my wall here. That's a
maybe
great quote.
maybe I'll hang that up in the office, and it's a good thing to live by because you shouldn't be reckless. You should know why you're doing something, and there should be purpose behind it.
Yeah.
But after that, like the fear's got to go, and it's time to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. That's all. Take a moment, but only a moment. You know? So when I come out for a visit, I'll be expect to see that quote hanging in your office.
I like it. I haven't done my office yet, which is why I'm over here. So maybe that'll give me the juice to go get it.
That's it, man. Well, Steve, listen, I really appreciate you being on here. Your story's awesome. I can't wait for people to hear this. And I'm looking forward for phase 2 of your program, which is going to be great.
Me too. I appreciate it.